Good morning and welcome back to the channel. So today I'm taking a look at something I did a few weeks ago, and I've made a few little tweaks and came back with it. I was talking to one of my buddies about the deck that I made in the past, and he said, bro, Vandergrift, and I'm like, nah man, I don't think that's the way to go. And then he's like, trust me, and I'm like, alright, you know what, today I'm gonna trust you, man, and I'm gonna throw this in Prodigy. So I wanted to really abuse the coin, and we have cards like Siri Dash that were in the former version, and we might as well go even further now with Vandergrift in the newer one. I also made a little bit of a substitution from Adalia in the past and felt like Geralt Quinn would get a bit more value. Granted that a couple of the bronzes that we have, well most of them, already have the ability to have shield with exception to the damn sorceress and of course the Century and Envoy. So it made a little bit more sense here to go for Geralt Quinn. It acts as a better tutor for cards like Kelder and of course the Ciri and of course, you know, having some of the Griffin Witcher Adepts. So it feels really smooth here. Now, the goal of the deck is to push it very aggressively in round 1 in order to take round 1 on even or Temple Pass on them so that you win round 1 regardless, having Vandergrift as carryover, getting Siri Dash to obviously flip the coin and having that card advantage, and then just coming in with tons of points and a big Ragnar finisher to win the game. So basically, if you want to take a look at the previous version of the deck, I'll put a link up in the right hand corner, but I do think that this one's better. I played 5 games in a row actually towards the end of my run that I won consecutively, so call this one the 2-0 machine in the thumbnail, and it's not clickbait because we actually had a couple 2-0s in those games. Of the 5 ones we won, we've got 2 2-0s in a row, so it's pretty wild how we go about it this way, and you'll see what I mean when it comes to the gameplay today. Now, Radovid's really good in this deck because it helps with giving 2 additional leader charges, and that plays significantly well into our Ragnar. It plays very well into giving Windholm a second life, and of course the whole combination with the duel and so forth. So the extra shields are really nice. Having Ciri protected from a shield is great. Pretty much everything in this deck's going to benefit from having a shield, so Radovid's a real center point of this deck, and we have some good consistency with, like I mentioned, with the Quen, with the Amphibious, with the John Natalist. There's plenty options here, and I think that we do draw all the cards that we need in this version as opposed to the previous one that I had. So really excited for it here. I did make a swap because I did take out the Selkirk and made a couple substitutions. I did take out the card. It's on the tip of my tongue here. I took out the siege supports just because there's no reason to give zeal anymore. I don't think it's as important. So I went in with the Century and Envoys just to make sure that we pull exactly what we need. Honestly though, this is a card that I'll play on a dry pass round or something if we're way ahead of them. I don't necessarily want to be taking this into my hand. It's a little bit of a slower tempo play compared to all the great ones that we have here. So, whoops. Let's get into the games for today, and if you guys like the content that you see here, don't forget to subscribe. I do uploads every single day at 8 AM Eastern Daylight Time, so let's get into it. And for the first game, we have Monsters Overwhelming Hunger, and we have to assume it's some sort of crazy Death Wish deck. I know that they probably have a Maruna, they probably have a Mana Core, or there's a good chance of it, right? So we have to kind of take that in consideration while playing into round 1. We don't want to play into either, but we play into either quite well. So it's going to be a little bit difficult just to put down Ciri off the get-go, or just to put down the Griffin Witcher Adept from the get-go. We have to kind of, honestly, just play cards and hope for the best. Now, Quen is a little bit bricked here. I just realized that now. I don't know if I realized it at the time, because we have Ciri, both of the Witchers, and then we have Keldar all in hand. So that's all the Witchers that we have. That's something that we can't really play here. Not that I would normally play it in round 1 regardless. It's usually something that I'll use when I'm trying to bleed or win in round 3, right? Because Quen itself plays for tons of points, gives Keldar the shield normally. You could flip it. In this case, we have Trial of Grasses as well. We could put on the Quen. Okay, so at least we have the shields going on. We're playing around the Rot Fiend quite a bit. don't mind taking something like that. I'm trying to decide at this point if I want to save Ciri, and that can sometimes be an issue, right? You want to kind of play it earlier in the round. But we don't necessarily have to play it here. We can play it going into round 2. We can also just use our resilience carryover from round 1 into round 2 and play Ciri round 2. That's tough. So Maruna's out of the way. If I was gonna play Ciri, it would probably be at some point in this round here. Get them to pass soon. But also Windhelm is like really good spend, because if we can get maybe 4 or 5 turns off him here, then it makes a big difference, right? That doesn't really matter all that much. I'm doing the math here, and Windhelm with the Vandergrift is going to get us ahead by 1 point on the pass. That's not too bad. We could just put a shield back on that. There's consideration to warm up the duel. There's consideration to put Defender here. I think both are fine options. And we just get the pass we're looking for. That's actually pretty good, though. So we won on even as intended here. Going into round 2, we can start off with something like the Ciri. We could fix our Gwent situation as well. Don't really love the Envoy here. I'd much rather have Radovid, so that's perfect. We didn't really see a huge amount of commitments from them, but we saw some, right?
Oh, I sense trouble.
And I feel like that's the move, right? That demands like a heat wave, and sure enough, we get it here, and it's fine because we're trading. The fact that we went on even gives us the leverage to do this and not really care all too much. Now, we had to put the leader charge on it because otherwise it just gets taken by like a parasite or something like that. It doesn't really work out too well. Now, seeing the Haunt come down is pretty crazy. It's going to be a lot of points. We do have access here to getting our big finisher play, so that's important to see as well. We're probably gonna have a lot of shields going on right here too, with Radovid, especially with Keldar coming down. There's options. Should be somewhere around 10 shields kind of thing when it's all said and done. So Quen here doesn't get the shield on the Keldar, but the Keldar Adrenaline is on. So we actually just want to respect that and get the 2 extra points versus greeting out a shield, right? And then we'll just spend every turn trying to flip over those tokens the best we can. No rush with Radovid. Basically, if Radovid gets answered here, then we don't have to necessarily shield our duel on the first turn we play it. And so I know that they don't have any removal in the way of 6 points. Just click it to get it back here. Flip the token. You see it's all coming together right now. We got tons of shields. The Kedwenny on the back row is going to boost itself when it gets the shield ripped off anyways. So it's actually quite a lot of points that are on the way here. And they're sort of running out of steam a little bit.
Hey, I can see Qcento from here.
And I'm not using leader charge here just in case they go swinging. I kind of want to have as many as possible to take over into round 3. I really have to decide what it's going to be here. And it all comes down to what they play here almost. Mushy Truffle, I can manage. And so we could probably duel out. Yeah, we can duel out one of the harpies.
Can I come down now?
I'm gonna do it after we rip the shields though, just so we get a better duel. Just too many points. I'm thinking that there's no way, right? There's no way. 38 point. Finisher is pretty nuts. They've used their tall punish on the series, so it works out perfectly. There's so many annoying cards in this deck that they just want to get rid of. Sure enough, we get that 2-0. And so moving on to the second one, here we have Scoia'tael, and it's going to be Invigorate. Been seeing a lot more Invigorate lately. I have a deck that I came out with a few weeks ago, and it was a Saskia Invigorate deck. I haven't seen it prior to that, but I've been seeing a little bit of it since. So I kind of have an understanding of how to play against it quite well. We want to get out as much of their carryover as possible. Even if it means maybe card down potential going into round 3, I just think it's more valuable this way. Fortunately, though, we have some good cards to help abuse the coin, and I'm just hoping that they don't have a heat wave here. Two threats, though. Like 3, actually. Scoia'tael's known for using Curse Corruption. They use lots of Serpent Traps. And what else they got? Oh, a simple lock takes it out. Now, there is a consideration to put one of the Envoys if you're feeling draw lucky, and put a Peller. I think that would be just fine for cases like this, but I would say these cases are few and far between. I haven't been seeing as many locks lately, with exception to maybe Nilfgaard. A lot of factions aren't really running a lot of locks, but in this situation, that being answered on a good roll into a lock is kind of annoying. Most of the time, though, Invigorate is Devotion because Torque starts in hand. So, I don't know, just the luck of them getting that Dryad's pretty nuts. Maybe they only have 1 or 2 in their deck. But at least we get one card that does carry over here, and I'm trying to establish enough of a lead that I feel comfortable passing here, and that they don't just win and dry pass round 2. We have to make it so that it's maybe a 1 card difference, or they try and play, but then they realize they can't actually overtake us. And I think that they're really going for it here. Simlas coming down is kind of something that we have to respect quite a bit. This is going to bring them within a few points of where we're at. I'm looking at getting back into doing some Twitch streams soon, guys. So if you guys have Twitch, I do have a channel there. It's Qcento01. Just someone named Qcento is already on the platform, but they don't stream or anything. I can't get the just the Qcento name, but yeah, it's Qcento01. Go check it out. Drop a follow there to know when I go live, and let's see if we can push that platform to 1,000 followers. That'd be cool.
Sisters, follow me!
So they're actually spending quite a bit here. You know, we did put down Immortals. We do have that really good engine, that 4-point per turn, give or take, you know. I think we need to definitely play into that a little bit more. But we do want to kind of prepare for getting out of the round, because I don't want to go in with Radovid here, and I don't want to use our Quen. And not a lot of value comes from the target practice either. Like, I mean, we'll be able to get 6 points off it, but that's about it. Okay, so we got the round win we're looking for. We do have the 5 points of carryover. And like I said, kind of pre-game, like, we want to really push this matchup if we can to try and get out some of that big carryover so that the round 3 is a little bit underwhelming. But we have to be careful as well, because if we don't do it successfully, then they're just going to have a solid round 3 and we're not going to be able to compete with it. So basically, I think the game comes down to this round here.
Let's make something beautiful together.
Hopefully we can keep the shield there, rip it off, and repeat. It's going to make a big difference here. Huge carryover. See, that's one big unit that's out of the way, but they're likely going to be boosting a torque, right? So it's just feeding into that carryover for later. If I can see one of the big plays, whether it's like an Aglaeus, a Gord, or a torque, like just one of them in this round, that'd be awesome.
The only good one is a dead one.
I think we have to start getting out some good cards here. Yeah, let's go in with the Quen engine. It just makes more sense.
Not your lucky day.
And that's likely going to get rebuked if we don't touch it here, so we have to go ahead and do that. I think we just take the Quen shield off and keep going. It's not as much tempo as I'd like, unfortunately. It'd be nice to have one of the adepts out here so that we can, you know, start putting shields on stuff and get an extra 2 points per turn.
I don't have all day.
We also do have our pass right here, something to consider. I feel like we've come this far.
The windmill. The sticks spin around and smash you.
And I think we can rip that shield off successfully now because, you know, they want to use Dunka and everything else to do that. I think that's fine. Alternative could have just been to do it off the Adept. I mean, either way is fine.
Special prize, just for you, love.
So I always like to flip first just in case we forget. Now, something I really don't like about this deck, playing it, is the fact that there's so many visual bugs with the shields. Yo, let's boost that just in case, right? You know what I mean? Like, there's so many visual bugs with shields that it's hard to tell. Like, when the students or the tokens like changed, it's still showing that card. Sometimes I don't know if a card has a shield or not. Sometimes I go into a new round, there's still a shield on the board. It's pretty nuts. See, that's me just trying to figure out what it is. Maybe if I take it off, it'll flip. Nope. Yeah, we'll hit that, because we're not going to have enough time to actually do both. Like, we have a Quen we could flip, we have 2 tokens we can flip, they're not all getting flipped. And I think I might play Radovid for the 2-point carryover, but not, like, the full Radovid, because I want them to get, like, an all-in situation here, basically. think we might be able to stop it too. And it's not obviously optimal, but the benefit here is that their leader doesn't play for a lot of points in this case if we're forcing them to go all in, because they should have done that a few turns ago, right? Let's go ahead and play that. Now they gotta make 84 points? Nope. 2 more. 86. Which I'm feeling pretty good about, because both of the plays that they're gonna have are gonna be around 20 points, right? So Torque out of the way. Can they do more than... It's going to be tough. Skags is enough. That's a huge Skags. But that actually saved us like 38 points in those 2 cards. I'm really glad that we took them, because if we brought those into round 3, it would have been done for us. And looking back on this matchup, I greeded so hard that we actually got worse cards. So Envoy's gonna suck. Yeah, like this could have been better for us. And whoops, you know? I wanted the duel, I wanted the Ragnar.
And how you address them.
Another play that I don't think should have mattered, like I should have done this differently, is putting the target practice on the defender before, because then we don't have a 50-50 play. We have just 100% of them hitting the defender's shield with the pyrotech. So if I was to redo that, it would have made a bigger difference. If I lose here, I'm feeling really bad because of that, and fortunately it pays off. I'm just looking at what we would have had, you know, doesn't... I forgot, like, it's not swapping in hand. For that very second, I was looking at it wrong. But, yeah, I mean, that could have been a few points off, but at least we still managed to get the win there. Moving on to another matchup here, we have Line Pockets by Syndicate. Now, the good part about it is that we have all the shields, right? The bad part about it is also that we have all the shields. We kind of want our shields as well, right? Otherwise, Ragnar doesn't really pay off too well. But it should be very difficult for them to remove a lot of good cards here. I'm just trying to decide how we're going to make some of our carryover cards work. And obviously, Ciri down first would have been nice. But I just didn't know if I really wanted to go Quen yet at this point. And they take Purify. That's also a thing, right? At least they didn't Purify this.
No! No!
And to be quite fair, I'm kind of scared that they'll go full leader here and then take it maybe with a Philippa if they're running that, but it's one of those things where we find out pretty quick. So Bounty tells me maybe it's going to be a Graydon.
What is it?
But we don't know for certain. If it is Graydon, we can still get out of the round even though I boosted it. But again, if it's Graydon Bluff, then that's fine. Because they don't have the tribute amount right now for Graydon unless they were to take a coin first. But even then, you know, it's pretty close. I think we just go in Kedwenny here and just try and crank it. Get a little bit more of a gap so that if that is the case, we're fine. And then I think we want to go ahead and pass here. And, you know, if they ruin my carryover, so be it at that point. Well, that's all the coin. Do we ever just pass? I'm sure they could probably do 10 points, but it's a matter of what would they need to spend to do it, right? They went all in with the bloody goods, so it's gonna have to be a gold card. Payday's not great. I guess they're playing a 4 dry passing, yeah.
The job's a job.
I mean, we're guaranteed round 2 at least. It's not all bad. And I guess they're continuing to spend here because they can. It's not like they're going to get the carryover anyways with the 1 coin to round 3, so it makes sense. That's one of the issues with the Vandergrift, is you have to get the engines down quickly and then have that in there at the perfect time. It works better on red coin than it does on blue for sure. But it's really good into a dry pass on round 2. Like if I would have played it here, for example, it would have been great. Pick a card to move. We'll move Amphibious to the top. We could put back one of the target practices or something like that for the John. Immortals are good here. Practice can go away for John, like we mentioned. Duel's really good here. That's like almost the hand, right? We have access to Ciri, Kaldar's in hand. We miss Radovid and we missed Windholm, but again, if I go too greedy with it, then we're in trouble too. So I think we just try and go for the dash. And I think we have to respect the Philippa here and go for the big boost. A really big boost. I'm not thinking poison, but bounty could be a thing. Now I'm starting to regret the the second shield wall boost. I don't think we needed the second one just there. But it's, I guess it's whatever. What can we do at this point? Keep playing. All we need is 2 turns though, you know? And there he is. Alright. That's fine. I just feel a little bit more guilty about it because of the second boost, that's all. Now, we want to get Immortals online pretty quickly as well, but that's going to cause us a little bit of a delay. Surely they're just going to move. Yep. And I don't know exactly why they decided to go ahead and take the Onslaught out here. Just because we are not Devotion, right? So there's no way for us to go ahead and reset that. And although I would have liked to use that defensively, it felt more appropriate to use it offensively. In my previous version I had a Boiling Oil, and this one I have a Trial instead. So we only have the one off to take care of like some of the engine, and I think one of the spenders is probably the most important thing here. Now we can just focus on getting out something like this, and then we can get that Kelder online next turn. I definitely feel pretty bad about the fact that we don't have the second and last shield wall charge for the Keldar, but seeing a payday come down here tells me that we're in pretty good shape. A big part of this game though right now depends on whether or not they actually run Philip on their deck, because that would change the dynamics quite a bit. And them paydaying a 2 tells me maybe they're expecting Keldar at 4, so it's possible.
Don't trouble yourself, please, for mercy.
Oh. I'm not gonna say anything. I'm gonna accept this and just be happy with it. And we'll go ahead and boost that while we can.
Sticks spin around and smash you.
Maybe they needed the coin like really badly for something else. It's possible they valued ignoring the armor, and because maybe they had like a tribute to save for. Everyone's running Savola right now with King of Beggars, so maybe that's kind of what they're going for. But I was super surprised when they didn't take that, because this game wasn't feeling too comfortable.
Our pyres will light up the north.
I think at this point we just get both of them going.
Gotta dodge. Gotta have the
Hey, I can see
It'll give us the most shields possible for the whole Ragnar play. The problem is that with Immortals on melee, and with Ragnar having to go on melee, we might actually have to take a little bit of a dive on the Keldar in order to make it work. That was something I was trying to decide here. It was either that or I just put the Immortals on ranged, which also could have been a consideration here.
now. Retrieve the bolt. I know. I'm on it.
You fear us.
Actually, I think that's fine. It gives us, like, we have more than enough shields. The only thing I don't like about that is if I would have planned for it sooner, I wouldn't have put the target practice on the Keldar. I would have put it on something else. That was really the only issue there.
The good of magic. That is what I serve first and foremost.
And then now we can do what we were prepared to do. Honestly, we got 2 more on the row. We can flip, go for the big removal. If it's like a Marils, maybe they take it. If it's a Savola, they don't. It's a Brute, okay. So we got lucky in that game, man.
just great.
That was a matchup where it was a little bit more difficult, for sure. Also, there's the 1-2 things that I would have changed, maybe in the way that I played that, right? Now, moving on to the next one, I'm fearing the Yaga, and this one's going to be Fruits of Ysgith. Now, there's just so many different versions of it. We don't know if it's Yaga, She Who Knows. We don't even know if either of those are really in there, but more than likely there's going to be something like Relics.
Oh, I sense trouble.
And I'm feeling pretty good about it. Let's go ahead with the Siri and just hope that it works out. I'm thinking it's a heat wave here. And we just got Pred Dove, guys. Yep, that's a thing. I never run it in my Ysgith lists, so I don't always anticipate it. That's annoying. But it's good because it helps us look at, okay, what happens when things get a little bit awkward with the deck? How do we respond to these adversities? So we just go for the next engine, really. I mean, if we're playing expecting nothing to get removed, then, you know, it's unrealistic. With this deck here, we go super tall on numerous cards. It's just a matter of which ones are going to stick and which ones are going to get removed. So now, if I do take trial, that's the best trial that we can get. With no hesitation, I'm going to go ahead and take care of that there. I think we can compete with their 1 point per turn on the Hound with our 2 points per turn on the Windhelm. So that's a thing. And if we find a time to jam Resilience down here, we're doing pretty good too. We just have to tempo ahead first, otherwise it doesn't work. We've seen this in past games, we have to be ahead. So this is the turn that I'm trying to make it happen, and then I believe we go in next turn and play Resilience. And to be quite fair, I'm feeling pretty good about just wanting to crank ahead here and get ahead, and without using another leader charge. I think 2 is more than enough for the round. $42.33. It's not that bad. Radovid's kind of nice here too, because it helps us establish a bit more carryover. And then this way on a pass, we could play the Kedwenny or something like that. Remove the shield. 3 per turn, eh? 57.41. I want to click it, I just don't think we can. And that should be fine. I know normally they like to bleed, and I think we're in a really good position to defend a bleed. And sure enough, Mamuna comes down. That's a lot of points. And we don't have anything that can put out that many points right away. So we have to start getting these engines set up and ready to go. And I think the sooner, the sooner we get some shields on the board, the better. I want to have that ready for Keldar and warmed up for Keldar. I want to get out the damn Sorceress as soon as possible as well, just in case, but we don't know how far they're going to crank it here. Okay, they're going in. Yeah, they're going to push it to the end, and, yeah. Alright. I want to duel it while I can see it, just in case they hide it or something like that. So, you know, when it's on the board, I don't think we take formation and wait. Especially since we have a defender on melee, it just seems a bit safer to put that there and just use it already. And now we're in a spot where we can start to try and catch up here. I think that we're pretty good. Keldar should really help us tempo. And I don't love the idea of putting Keldar on melee, but I don't love the idea of using leader charge or anything like that. So I'm sort of respecting that. I'm also expecting a pass soon. I don't think they'll go all in when we have 4 unless it's a really good lead. Let's get the resupply here. I think it's always going to be Damned Sorcerers here. No need to go too expensive. We got to play this on range, though. We're getting too greedy if we put that on melee anymore. And that just gets us ahead now. Now I'm feeling really good. And I wonder if we ever just take like John for a Thin, or we use the formation to get better consistency for round 3. We have a little bit of a play left to go for round 3, but in this case it looks like they exhausted everything, right? They've played all the Crones, they've played the Iroquois, they played the Mamuna, they had the Shionos out there. The Bloody Mistress was played in round 1, so how much more is there to play? You know what I mean? That's going to keep us ahead. It's also going to fill the row. But I decided to do this now rather than later, just because we actually have a Damned Sorceress, so Immortals might not get a lot of value next round, and I don't think we're gonna have to play John here, right? Yeah, so we could just go ahead, flip that, put this on range. It should be enough. I don't even think we have to care about the Damned Sorceress in this case. We would have got the extra 2 points on that, and then the Immortals, but we already took the round. So going on to round 3. I'm feeling good at this point. Like, I know that their provisions are pretty well spent. Maybe they try and play like a Witch's Sabbath or something, but that's about it. And I guess they just had nothing left at this point. I was feeling pretty good about what we had. Moving on to the next game here. Now, it's looking like Harmony, right? Call a Harmony leader ability, and for what it's worth, it's one of those leaders that everyone says is not, like, very strong these days, but it's one of those leaders that whenever I play against it, it feels to be actually pretty strong, so we have to take it pretty seriously here. We've made a lot of quick decisions in past games. As for playing some of that carryover stuff or Siri a little bit too early, I just want to kind of step back here and see what we can do. Plus, we don't have access to Siri. Maybe for the better that we save it for later. But I want to wait for Percival to get up to maybe 6. 6 or 8, doesn't really matter here. We just want to remove that. I know a lot of times when I used to play Harmony back with Mystic Echo, I used to put a defender down to proc it as well. So, you know, it's one of those things where Percival can get pretty wild. I think that's worth the duel in this matchup. Now, I don't know how much farther I want to play into this round here. It really depends on what they play. Poison sucks. So, the obvious line would be to put a defender. But I'm thinking that it's either a bluff poison, because I know they only have 2 of those, potentially, and maybe the Willow, and that's about it for the poison package. So I'm like, alright, like maybe you just don't have it. But sure enough they do, and that's just fine, because I did think about the fact that they wouldn't get ahead off of that, you know, even if they did finish the removal. It's nice that we actually got the resilience out there though, regardless, and I'm just looking for what feels to be the appropriate time to pass. Probably somewhere around here. For what it's worth, they have a lot of engines. We don't have a lot going on. There's maybe 2 cards that I'd like to play. We could go in for Amphibious though. I'm considering Defendering now, but then I just don't know if it's really worth it at this point. We would have put it down earlier if we were going to protect from the poison. It might just be better to save to try and keep the Siri going, or the Keldar, for example. but passing and seeing Saskia is actually pretty big.
Well, I guess it's gonna take some more patching.
Kind of makes you regret using the duel in round 1 on the Percival, but I think it was required. I'm gonna have to go ahead and take that out here.
My name? I don't recall.
The waters tell me that they're just going for it. At this point, you'd want to put down something like the Windholm to get the most value possible out of that. Now this is giving us 2 points per turn. The waters could potentially be giving them 2 points per turn, but ours are ticking first, so it does give us a little bit of an advantage here. And they're playing a lot of golds, so I know that if we can get out of this round alive, then we should win the game. I think they're just going for the all or nothing approach here. Yep. Yep. And I was not expecting Gezras at all, because I have nothing that we can use to remove that. That would have been the dual target. We can't take trial on that. And so we have to start playing on range row to avoid playing into the Gezras on adrenaline. See, I was not expecting it at all. That's why I was stacking melee. It literally didn't even cross my mind. But it makes sense with the waters putting out pairs and all this type of stuff. You know, you could put a Gezras in there. It is a Witcher, so it does proc Harmony. And we're probably going to have to go down with the Kaldar pretty soon. I think we want to get the most value out of that possible. Put it on the range row so that they don't hit our stuff too much. We'll try and flip those over soon. That's a lot of points. And I think we actually just go full in with the shields here. We have to respect the tempo. This should get us, you know, ahead if they decide to pass. They're starting to slow down. What's this going to get into? Yeah, it's a little late to put out something like that, so they are starting to slow down quite a bit. And why it's on the front row, I'm not sure. They're missing a bit of points from not stacking on ranged. But we're going to respect that. Maybe it was just a little bit of a mistake. Maybe there's a plan for it. Who knows? And that's not enough. So careful, because it just starts with that right away. Respecting any sort of punish.
The windmill. Its sticks spin around and smash you.
I don't think we've seen any telltale signs of their devotion as of now, so a 20-point removal would cost us the game. And that makes sense there. 3-6. They missed an elf. 65. Now, if I just go into amphibious, we're fine, right? And we can even just put a shield back on the Windholm. And we should just be good. Yeah. It's not that it's not that difficult of a choice. There we go. Citrine.
If you're
And
Much better at that.
that goes back 70. If we pass, we win. And they don't let us. They go ahead and forfeit because they know. That was pretty good. Moving on to the last game of the day, we have Onslaught, Skellige. I definitely think that this deck can get you to pro. I definitely think you can win some games in pro. Again, it plays very tall and very risky. I don't know how far it'll get you in pro, but you can catch a lot of people by surprise, especially with Vandegrift, and I think it's definitely worth trying out. It's certainly fun to play because it really doesn't take a lot of super critical thinking. Like, you know, you kind of just put down cards and mess around with the shields, you know? So Defender goes down here because I want to see if I could pull off Ciri or if I can pull off Vandegrift. I think we have to play Ciri first if we're going to go about it that way. But if we play Ciri, we might get a pass at 7 from them.
Hey, listen here. Listen well.
We'll just go for it. Because if they do pass at 7, we're still going to be getting ahead at 7. So basically by playing this card, it made them not commit into the round. And I think that that's fair. They passed at 8. I guess it's the same thing technically, but it's fine. At this point, don't we just play Vandegrift and go for that 2-0?
Treacherous witch.
So we have the carryover from that. We won on even, so we can push it down. This is the perfect scenario that we want to be in. And basically, it doesn't feel like a whole lot. We don't have the card advantage, but we do have that even say. So that's pretty good. And if it wasn't for that combo, they would have never passed at that point. So that's basically why we have it. And I'm trying to get the best hand possible because I want to just go for it here, right? Put down something like that. Now, we don't want to go too tall. We want to spread out the points as best as we can because this deck, I've seen a lot of Morkvarg. Pretty much everyone who's running Pirates of some sort has no reason not to run Morkvarg. So we got to expect it here. Shields are no good for us either. Like, the shield removals that they're going to be able to do with these random pings. Obviously, they're not getting the actual point of damage, but it's still taking away from the Ragnar. But I think that's okay, because we don't want to play it too tall, right? Otherwise, they just punish that, and, you know, it's all our eggs in one basket, so...
Nothing like some overseas plundering in springtime.
Now, I think we got to respect the coral. And I'm pushing here because I'm looking for maybe a situation on the side where we can maybe put them in a position where they have to go card down or 2 card down on like a pass. Just a really quick tempo pass. Because we don't have everything to win a game. Them taking Scoia'tael here is actually really nice because it takes away from a Morkvarg. So keep that in mind as well. It does bring them within reach, though, which is a little bit frustrating here, so we have to kind of come up with something that's going to be a bit faster. Now, our Quen is also bricked in this matchup, so we have to be careful of that, too. Both those Witchers in hand, Kaldar in hand, Ciri played round 1. So, I don't know if we want to go all the way with it here, just because of that. Now I'm leaning more towards probably trying to go card up. but I want to play out far enough so that we get out something like a Fuchsia or one of the big commitments, maybe a leader charge or two, right?
Got a bad case of roller's back.
Yeah, there we go. Perfect. I was surprised when I saw that second one come down. But it's good. It works out for us here.
As you wish.
It's probably going to be one of the most frustrating things to play against if you are Skellige, though. Just because you break through the shield, you're wasting time and points, you know? Seeing a lock come down here actually works out perfectly because now Keldar just lives and works.
You gotta be quick. You gotta dodge. You gotta have the...
Kill the sons, steal the lasses.
And I still haven't seen enough. Like, this would be a good pass for us, but I want to see Fuchsia. So I'm going to go ahead for the duel here. Take out the Raider. And with the Keldar still ticking, it's going to give us what we need to get ahead here. Now they're going to have to give us something serious, otherwise they're just not going to be able to compete. And that's pretty much it. Fuchsia comes back for the Coral. Even if Coral draws perfectly, I don't think it's enough to get ahead here. The Raid in the front row has to deal with armor as well, or shield rather. That should just be fine. I'm thinking about playing here, but really what difference is it going to make? You have to decide. Yeah. You got to decide when it's time to pass, and I'm pretty sure, like... There we go. Go ahead and pass here. The reason why is because when we start playing slow at the end like that, we're losing the possibility of really overwhelming them. So if they have like really bad cards in hand, with our engine ticking for 2, we might actually be able to see 2 of those cards. And that's what I'd rather have. Versus playing crap and then they catch up and then it's really like not much of a bleed, is it? If you guys did enjoy the video though, don't forget to stop by tomorrow. I do uploads every single day at 8 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time. And if you guys have a certain request that you'd like to see, let me know and I'll get to as many of them as possible. I have an idea for the next one, but I'm looking for stuff later for this week that you guys might want to see as well. So, see you soon. Have a great day.